Also new for us here at 4, nearly 1,500 teachers out at Chicago Public Schools. The layoffs come on the heels of a doomsday budget with a $700 million gap to be filled. The CPS says today's cuts are not related to this year's deficit. CBS News Chicago investigator Dorothy Tucker here now taking a close look at these cuts, Dorothy.
Well, Joe, as you said, hundreds of teachers, special education assistants, and even parents who help out in the classroom are impacted by these latest cuts. Let me break it down. The layoffs include 432 teachers, members of the Chicago Teachers Union. 123 of them teach special education students. CPS said the number of teachers cut this year is about 50 less than last year. But special education classroom assistants appear to be impacted more this year. In that job position, there were 677 layoffs announced today. They are represented by SEIU Local 73. That union saw only 404 cuts last year.
Well, people, I am a resident of this big city, third largest city in the United States. My kind of town, Chicago is. It is Wednesday, happy Wednesday, and it is July 16th. I have 4:25 in the a.m. Couldn't sleep, and I thought about this particular issue last few days, and I'm like, let's talk about it. Remember, I have been saying that the federal government, the President of the United States, and Congress, might as well throw the keep the Federal Reserve in there, the Federal Reserve, they gave us an illusion of growth for decades. And don't you think in your wildest dreams that the illusionary growth has not impacted the big cities? Now, I'm not gonna throw everything on this illusion, but it is a big part, because when you give the impression everything's all right at the top, the cities and the counties and states, they'll spend money as well. Budgets are looked at, microscoped, 3 months, 6 months, every year. And you look at the trend, and then you make a decision. Money allocated from the federal government, from the state, your governor, the relationship between your governor and your mayor is ongoing. And again, if you think the trend is great, you grow. But if the numbers have been alive for decades, at some point, you got to make up a difference. You got to cut back. Sometimes they do property taxes. Sometimes they go up on business taxes. I met a lot of people who were in the restaurant and liquor business, especially the liquor business. The the cost for a license is just astronomical. Taxis in Chicago, the prices to have a cab as opposed to taking Uber or Lyft. I want you to understand, it's all about budget. I like the budget on realistic numbers and realistic expectations. Chicago is one of those wounded cities. Of course, there is a relationship between the mayor and the governor. In my state, I do believe it's Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I believe they're on the same page. Sometimes they act like polar opposites, but it's a game that they play, because I believe we're in a route to a new world order. So let me get into this thing. 1,400 plus layoff. No guarantee that additional jobs can be made. So people are just holding on in the balance. $700 million gap. And we also have a city deficit of over $1 billion. Where's that money gonna come from? They're talking about building maintenance, because we do have some old buildings, so that's a cost. Children with disabilities, that's the biggest one that's gonna be hit. And you have the pension. Ever since I was a teenager, I heard about the pension gap. And it seems like every 4 or 5 years we're putting a politician in jail. I tell you, we just had one recently, but let's get on with this story. Let's break this thing down.
We've been, watching our boys really thrive, but it would be devastating to see them not have these supports, not only from a developmental and an academic standpoint, but I fear that medically speaking, that they will be in danger sending them to school if we don't have the proper support.
And CPS said in a statement, retaining highly skilled special education professionals remains a top priority, as their work is essential to ensure all students, particularly those with the most complex needs, receive the support they deserve.
So yes, special needs is going to be hurt. My son with special needs, I with special needs. It is definitely needed. But I tell you, look at the impact. And again, when you have this false economy, welcome new subscribers, let me just gradually explain that to you. When I say the last maybe 3 generations we have a false economy, look at the 37 point whatever trillion dollar deficit we have in America. Spend, balloon, go up on the money that's allocated to run the government. That is, you raise the debt ceiling. And somebody should have said, wait a minute, pump the brakes. You're trillions of dollars in the hole at the federal level. We're getting money from the state and the federal government at the same time we have our own budget. But the accountability, at some point, the chickens are going to come home to roost. And now the reality of operations is staring us in the face, because you look at the economy, you look at it, if you keep hiring people are getting older, because that's a natural form of operations. So now your pensions are continuing. We have people here in Chicago who have worked maybe 2 or 3 government jobs, and when they retire, they're getting double to triple pension. Let that sink in. A lot of things going on here, but yeah, now the impact is more so on special education. Now, what they did was that they're looking for ways to deal with this $1.2 billion shortfall here in Chicago. And let me know if you have it in your city as well. What are your ideas? What are the proposals? Is there light at the end? And I cannot emphasize enough when I say fake economy. Maybe I'm not doing justice enough to it because it's 4 a.m, but let me try it again. People, if it's based on being phony and you're printing money out of thin air because you're in debt, and that's what the federal government does. It prints money out of thin air. That's inflationary money. That's an inflationary operation. That impacts big cities and counties across the United States, because prices are continually going up. You're trying to juggle it, you're trying to balance it. Now you go from working a job to a job and a half. Mothers and fathers have to work. It balloons because everything's false. Everything has been false. And here we are trying to figure out how to manage it. Well, it's unsustainable. And we haven't even thrown in the illegal aspect, the illegal immigration aspect yet. Check it out.
You have budget imbalances when one side of your ledger is growing at a faster pace than the other. It'd be great if that was on the revenue side, but unfortunately, it's on our expenditure side.
The city projecting a 2026 deficit of nearly $1.2 billion, a figure that could grow if there are cuts in federal funding.
We're demanding a budget that serves the many and not the few, a budget that taxes the wealthy and not the working families.
Last year, Mayor Johnson broke a campaign pledge and proposed a $300 million property tax hike. but facing objections, he took it off the table in favor of fee increases, cuts to unfilled positions, and debt restructuring. With the mayor determined to preserve investments for the unhoused and those needing mental health support and for youth employment programs, he may again ask taxpayers to dig deeper.
We're looking at a budget gap that's grown by, say, 600 to 700 million. I would think that's the property tax hike that he's going to ask for. It is going to be pretty painful for taxpayers.
Our city is imploding. We have other cities around the United States imploding. I'm going to show you a video where I said that Brandon Johnson was selected, not elected. They brought in someone to run against him to give the illusion that there was a race, but yet it was already a done deal. Allegedly, that's what I feel it has been done. Everything's built on falsehood. America, it's a package deal. It's just not the federal government going down. It's the big cities. They want them to go the way of Gary, Indiana, decades ago, right around the time of Mayor Richard Gordon Hatcher, the first black mayor, which I covered stories on that back in the day. But yeah, that's what's happening now. We have cities which are going to implode. I look for any year now where our city is going to have to cut back on fire, police, all that. But we've hired more police in the last 4 years, I think, than any other time. We've had issues with BLM, Antifa, and a lot of senior police officers left. They took early retirement. So now you got pension on that too. You just made a big problem by not upholding the law. It's crazy, ain't it? Now check it out.
Just announced it's laying off more than 1,400 school-based employees. This includes 432 teachers and 677 special ed classroom assistants. CPS says this is part of its annual workforce planning and budgeting process. Historically, the district says more than 80% of impacted employees have secured new positions within CPS prior to the start of the school year. It's not known if the current $734 million budget deficit will impact that rehiring process.
And that's the thing, it's a wait and see. 80% of the people who were laid off historically were able to transition into another job. The odds are that number is gonna probably go down to like 50%. It's getting rough for people because the reality is staring you in the face. Now here's the mayor asking for money now, okay? Check it out.
Down on calls for the state of Illinois to fund Chicago public schools. The teachers union says it wants Governor Pritzker to allocate more than $1 billion to CPS. And today, the mayor is supporting that move.
The city of Chicago and districts across the state are not fully funded by the state of Illinois. Again, it's one of those areas where I'm going to need more people to get active, to challenge not just city government, but the state government as well, to fully fund our schools, because the crisis that we are experiencing is a crisis of the result of failures of the past.
CPS is facing a budget deficit of more than $730 million. Pritzker has previously said there are no plans to boost funding for CPS.
Now this here is 2 days old. So him asking money from the governor, you heard what the response was. There's no plans. So you're on your own. This is where we're at, people. But I believe it's playing good cop, bad cop. I believe they're all in on it. I believe it's part of the New World Order plan to implode these cities. Okay? It's been going on for a while. We've always had a pension crisis ever since I was a little boy. And now it's compounded through inflation, bad policy decisions. Sometimes they go up on property taxes or business taxes or, like I said, liquor license. But it's a very unfriendly city. We had a mayor here, Mayor Daley, the younger one, the son of the Richard J. Daley back in the day, Mayor Daley. He sold the parking meters, and when they finally figured it out years later, they said that he could have got at least maybe 50% more for the parking meters. We have sold our bridges. We're selling our real estate. We're selling all types of assets just to stay afloat. We are imploding. And guess what? Don't think foreign entities are not owning Chicago and other big cities. I'm keeping it real. I want you to understand. The price tag on America, the bottom line is that they're not telling you, but I'm gonna tell you on my channel, the country has been for sale. The assets are being, it's almost like a fire sale. And Chicago is owned by a lot of foreigners. And that's what happens when you lie over the decades about the money starting from the top all the way down. And then you keep growing as a city in your dependence on the federal government and the state, but you shouldn't have been growing like that because the money was false anyway. It was balloon money. It was money printed out of thin air to keep things going on. But everything was going up. At the same time, you kept growing, you kept adding jobs, you kept building everything, and before you know it, and then at the end, who hurts? Poor neighborhoods hurt, special education hurts, but yet the funny thing is, you keep hiring all these police. Interesting. 1984. Check this out.
Starting on a strong note, Chicago Public School leaders made their pitch.
This is the place where we need you.
Asking parents, students, and CPS staff
My school is a small magnet school.
for their ideas to fix the looming $734 million budget shortfall.
The money is there, so we need to tap into it.
A listening session where they didn't hold back the feedback.
I had to learn how to navigate my voice and speak up when something that I need.
Some participants surprised by what they heard.
I knew that we were in a financial deficit. I just had no idea how big that number actually was. So that was kind of alarming to hear.
District leaders say pension obligations, building maintenance, and services for students with disabilities are among the factors driving the deficit. Giving some.
Well, that's where we're at. Let me end with this. This is a video that I did over 10 months ago. Chicago, $1 billion budget gap was preventable. I want you to listen to Alderman Bill. He's one of the few aldermen who has been standing up, but yet it's hard to get it done when aren't too many resisting the mayor. Check it out. Because he's like, look, you're spending money on this, spending money on that. You didn't have to, but you did. And now you're crying about being broke. Check it out. Legals. We got to keep this in perspective. So I'm going to go down the road, then I'm going to let Alderman Veal bring it out. Alderman Veal. And here he is.
Almost blaming yourself for this. Was it you? Was it the mayor's office? Who's to blame?
Well, it wasn't me because I voted against every budget the last 5 years. And so it was definitely the guidance of the administration that really pushes the agenda as far as our budgets are concerned. And so when you look at our budgets, it's the mayor's responsibility to present us with budgets. And, you know, I've been fighting tooth and nail about all these bad decisions that have been made. And it's just right now, it's not enough of us in the city council to, really right the wrongs that are going on. When you look at the fact that we spent $814,000 on a wrought iron fence during the pandemic, knowing that we have a deficit, why would you do something like that? Why would we spend over $600 million on migrants when you know we have a deficit like this? Why didn't we have a hiring freeze or start furlough days back in March and April if you knew we had a deficit like this coming? And so there was no preparation. So it's just bad decisions.
Bad decision. Isn't that something? This is my city. I said this is my city. Now people, I hear people on all different social media saying, well, this is what you get for voting them in. People, I'm gonna tell you, I do not believe it was a vote. I believe it was hatched. It was hatched. Listen to my perspective on this video. Check it out. Next thing you know, he served a couple of years, and then boom, he's president of the United States.
the Chicago Teachers Union. They gave him about $2.3 million. They also provided an incredibly huge ground game.
This is Brandon Johnson, who won a year plus ago. Check it out. And the honeymoon over with, people. He got the lowest rating of any mayor, I believe, in any big city. Check it out.
For his speech tonight, he wasn't.
My kind of town, Chicago is. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am Friendship Pearson. Welcome to Friendship Blue. It is Saturday, September 14th of 2024, 2:03 in the p.m. How are you? Let's say it together. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. You are looking at Big Daddy Brandon Johnson. Yeah, nobody knew who he was 6 months before he became mayor. You know, Chicago has been known for pulling rabbits out of a hat. Remember Barack Obama? Basically unknown, gave a speech at the Democratic National Convention. Next thing you know, he served a couple of years, and then boom, he's president of the United States. Well, the man you're looking at basically followed the same pattern. Why do those type of things happen? I have a theory that maybe they weren't elected, maybe they were engineered and selected. And this guy who has put us in a hole deeper than we were, double than what we were. Here's Brandon. Now, look at his opponent, Paul Vallis. He ran for mayor before, and he ran against Johnson. And he lost. It took me a couple of weeks to come up with my theory. And my theory is that he was chosen, that is, Paul Vallis was chosen, someone who's, I think he was overseas doing something. All of a sudden, boom, he comes, runs against Johnson, and he loses. Of course, there were a myriad of candidates there, but Paul Vallis is a big name. That's what I think happened. I think they just had a guy run against Johnson to make it look like they were running. But the goal was to run Chicago into the ground. Listen to Vallis.
And that's what I believe. That's what I believe. Let me look at something right quick. Brandon Johnson became mayor election night speech. Let's look at this here. The night that he won. People, I tell you, when we talk about Chicago, just think of it like this. The fix is in. It's part of the New World Order plan. Get your right people up in there, give the impression you're gonna fix something, but yet it's the 5 Ds. Delay, deny, debate, derail, then destroy. And now he wants to go out into public and ask them for solutions. Really? Really? I get it, but hey, you've been around a long time, brother, and now you became mayor of the city. If you weren't ready, you shouldn't have ran. That's my opinion.